topic for tonight, it's going to be better next year, isn't it? Who on earth, when we started this year, thought we would have gone through what we have done? Certainly not me anyway. And I was just listening to the news just before this started, and I was hearing Matt Hancock saying they found a new strain of coronavirus, or a new mutation of it. Is that going to help us or make it worse or whatever? But with the vaccine now being rolled out, things should be getting better. But what can we do to make it better?
Yeah.
So we'll just, I'm going to leave everybody, we're sitting at 35, and I was just going to let an open discussion on 2 topics tonight about some of the things we can look at. I've got one piece to share, and it's about planning, because now's the time we should be planning for just the second half of this Rotary year. And also for those that are coming into new positions, thinking of what are they going to be doing come July. And really, whatever they're going to be doing, for the continuity in the clubs, we should really be working that now with the current teams. I'm going to share it's about a 2.5-minute video clip just on, it's called strategic planning, but it's just something to think about. And hopefully it will help if I can find out where on earth I've put it. So you should be able to see that. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. So we'll just play this. It's just under 3 minutes.
Work.
Stop that sharing there. Yes, that's very businesslike. But all organisations in some shape or another plan what they're going to be doing. That's the only way. If we don't plan, we plan to fail, I guess, is the real way of looking at it. A couple of things in there that I was looking at was quite interesting was, what's the strengths of Rotary? Now, I've got 41 on today, and I didn't want to put people in groups. I'd rather just hear and have the whole group and discuss a couple of things. One was enhanced participant engagement, but also to think of our strengths. Because it says identify our strengths or our weaknesses or opportunities or threats. What are the strengths of Rotary? Now, participants, if you click on participants, you can put up your hand, because we've got 41 on at the moment. I can't see everybody. What are the strengths of Rotary? Who wants to start that? Because if you don't start, I'm going to pick on somebody.
Oh.
So Philip Ross, you've started putting something in the chat box. Do you want to?
Yeah, I think that strategic planning, we sit down as Rotary clubs and we sit down like that slide where they were all around the table and we do it week after week after week. We're not actually getting anywhere. We're just constantly going around in circles. And I think if you show that as a model of what a Rotary club is, you're going to get people doing what that last frame did with the person running towards the fire exit. They're going to run a mile. I just don't think it's what people want to do. Now, that's not to say that Rotary District shouldn't do something and the Rotary at a higher level, so that there's some strategy that can flow down to help clubs. But I think from a club point of view, it's a bit dangerous to think in strategically like that. I'm hoping that's a bit controversial. We'll see what that brings up in people.
That's certainly controversial. So, Sheena.
Yeah, I think one of the strengths of Rotary is just the breadth of experience, the breadth of people, different careers they've had, different life experiences they've had. You know, which other organisation could you bring together so many people with so many varied backgrounds? I think that's one of our strengths. Yeah,
absolutely. And Kath.
I was going to give strengths, but I'll pick up on what Philip said so that we can have a discussion. I think that, well, there is something already that Rotary International has produced as a strategic plan. And I think our district is working on something for the future. But I think that clubs do need to have a plan, whether it's strategic as in long term or whether it's a shorter term plan, but we need to plan. The problem is, I think, Philip, I don't know if this is your experience, that we then talk it to death and it's not really planning, it's just passing the time talking. And one moment we're going along the road and then suddenly we're turning around and going around another road. But I think we need some sort of plan and thought, because after all, every one of us that's on this meeting tonight, we plan our own lives. It may not be major strategic planning, but which one of us hasn't thought about what we're going to do tomorrow? And that's a plan. So I think the planning is important, and it's important for clubs as well.
That's brilliant, Kath. Thank you. Because this will get the topic going. I'm planning my 2024 holiday at the moment. On the basis I'm not going to get one in the 22-23 year, perhaps. So let's see. John Ootman.
Right. Thanks, Ken. Yeah, I think the biggest strength that Rotary has just now is the existing membership. Even though they're a bit elderly sometimes, they're still there. They've been coming along to meetings. And I think I certainly have been thinking about how I rebuild my life in the next year or two, which is in some ways kind of fallen apart. So many things I've been used to doing year after year, don't do anymore. So thinking in terms of, well, what am I going to do in the future? I'm going to just hitch back up to things I've been doing in the past, or am I thinking about different things that I might want to try? And I think Rotary has to be really aware that come probably 30th of June 2021, end of our year, at which point some people are going to be thinking about rejoining or not rejoining, paying their subs, things like that. And we really need to think hard about that moment, 30th of June 2021. And how are we going to keep the members who have come along for years in the past? We need to make sure we have a good product to offer them, something that they're going to really want to come to. And it really worries me when that date comes, what will happen to Rotary. And in some ways, it's up to us. We can choose to offer something really exciting for people to come back to, or just the same old thing. And some people, unfortunately, will just want the same old thing, and other people will be looking for something different, something big to think about. Thanks.
And thank you for that. And a lot of that, what you're saying is you're planning to do something different. Maybe it's just planning to do it differently, just to throw it out there. And who on the earth thought we'd be meeting on Zoom for 75% of 2020? And all of a sudden that's almost becoming the norm, could I suggest? Will that be at this time next year? Who knows? If it says Fiona, but I'm guessing it's Alistair.
Yeah, well done. I wanted to give my idea of strength, which was shared experiences and the ability to make a difference. But I also, from my experience, wanted to highlight two of the inhibitors. One is so many of us are retired and we really don't want the hassle of business practice as part of our hobby, in inverted comma, and we get some resentment because of that. And the other is, from my experience of sitting in on other clubs' assemblies, is the eternal, I like what we do, let's do the same thing again next year. So there's a reluctance to actually open the mind to that essential change and move forward. Because if we do the same thing all the time, we'll just disappear up the proverbial.
Yeah, you're quite right. I think it's, I love good old Isaac. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. And each year we lose 100 Rotarians in this district alone. And as John said earlier, what are we going to lose come July? And what are we going to do differently to make sure they're still attracted? David Fryer.
Hi there. Strength of Rotary International. I'm not talking about clubs. What brought me to Rotary and what keeps me is being part of a worldwide humanitarian organization. Rooted, beating in our hearts is about caring and compassion. It's about reading about those folk who put water holes together, about polio, different parts of the world. And one bit of business lessons I've always remembered was good old Michael Porter, paralysis by analysis. A couple of folk have said, don't we seem to be going round in circles? And I've said a couple of times before, I'm inspired by those young Rotarians who are in Rotaract because they just get together and say, we want to do something. Have we got a plan? We've got a plan. What do we need to do? Who's going to do it? And let's get on and do it. That's inspirational.
Yeah.
But that's not their sole gift. We've all got that. It's just how we want to apply it. They just happen to be lucky. They've got youthful energy on their sides, but we've got, I hope, a lot of experience, and it's also how we share that learned experience. I used the opportunity the other week to give the example of the first mentor I had nearly 50 years ago, who gave the example, I can't give you experience, but I can share the benefit of experience, learn from it. Don't make the same mistakes, or if you do get stuck in the same hole, you'll get out of it quicker. To me, that's what Rotary is about. They're the enduring strengths, and that's what we've got to keep alive. Otherwise, we're just into the silos of our clubs.
Yep.
That's controversial or going to spur things on.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw a thing in there, and I'm going to come to Brian Bain next. I was working in South Africa, and one of our young people on the finance team, we made them talk about something every week. And this guy wouldn't talk about it. He's Zimbabwean. And he came out with something so profound that was, if each of us just sweep our own doorstep, the world would be a beautiful place. And no matter we think, I think it was, I know fine who it was Eleanor says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try going to bed with a mosquito a long time ago in membership. And each of us can contribute to that in some shape or form. So Brian, I think you're next.
Ken, yeah, one of our strengths surely has to be our ability to network, and within our membership, close friends and relations, our own community, and membership continues to concern me, and I think it's while we do wonderful work within our communities and globally as well, without members, that's going to fall away, and quite quickly. And maybe the strategic planning should be focused more on how to grow our membership. What strategies do we have, and how many different strategies can be adopted to gain membership? And maybe there's an opportunity in the use of Zoom. Why don't we invite two friends to join a club Zoom meeting? And if we all did that, perhaps we could develop interest, in that way. And I just wonder if we're doing enough with the experience that we have. Are we really using the experience that we have? We talk about it, we've talked about it a bit tonight, but the width of depth of experience that all of us have, I think, is being grossly underused. We've gone through the visioning thing. Is there a reluctance generally for Rotary clubs and Rotarians to really adapt to change?
I think in general it probably is, to be honest. And I found a horrible statistic that said 90% of Rotarians haven't invited anyone along to a club, never mind invited them to join. I've asked two people this week, how many of you asked? Just throw that out there. And you're quite right. It must be easy to invite people along to a Zoom meeting if the Zoom's attractive. Eleanor.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. I was beginning to wonder if I'd forgotten what I was going to say. But you know what I'm like, I'll find something. No, seriously. You were talking about strategic planning. We've actually started to do that for next year. Hilary's getting that up and running with her team that's coming in. Now, we wouldn't call it strategic planning, but we call it common sense and looking ahead. But one of the things that I know that a lot of folks say is that you'll sit round in your committees or your teams and talk about things. We actually don't have committees and teams. We do a wee bit like what Brian might have been saying earlier on. If something inspires the group, you can sense that. And so what I have tended to do, and again, it's a personal thing, and I think people have to feel comfortable about this, that I have gone and lifted the phone and spoken to people and asked them if they would be keen to take on that sort of a leadership role in a specific area, for example, rather than just sitting around and saying, yeah, that's a great idea, and nothing actually happens from it. I think you really do have to know your club, your members, to feel comfortable about doing that. So, I mean, I don't have an answer to any of this, but that's what we've been doing in the last year, and it's been a personal approach rather than just hoping that somebody will put their hands up.
What's average age in Nathan Valley?
Sorry, Ken?
What's the average age in Nathan?
Actually, somebody asked me that the other day, and it's fluctuating. It's around about 55, I think. we've found, and I hate to sort of admit to this because I'm not a Facebook fan, and I was encouraged to become a member of Facebook because I was president. On the 30th of June at midnight next year, I'm coming off it. I have to say though, it has been an amazing conduit, a channel for people getting in touch with us. And after another meeting that I'm going to be at tonight, I'm away to phone somebody else who today said they would love to know more about Ifan Valley Rotary and what we do. And so it's just a matter of picking up the phone yet again and doing that. I didn't realise what an opportunist I was until the last few weeks when we've had an awful lot of that. But I think again, it's getting to knowing your group and having the guts to go and sort of address them.
Sure, and you're quite right, you know, talking about what getting the plan sorted, and don't call it a plan, call it what you want. And strategic planning sounds very businesslike. But come club assemblies, you're going to be asked and going to be sharing with the clubs what you're going to be doing in the following year. So why wouldn't you be putting that together now and getting that thoughts together? John in Pitlochry.
Thanks, Ken. Just another strength. In my experience with Rotary, that we're not all that great at making plans, coming together in committees and things like that. But normally, each club has 2 or 3 individuals who are basically bright sparks. The rest of the club, they're happy to jog along. But these 2 or 3 people are absolutely essential to the club. They have ideas, they want to put the ideas through. Sometimes they can be really discouraged if nobody takes them up on it. And so I think it's really important in each club that these people be identified, and particularly the president needs to support them if it's a valid thing that they want to do. And that is much, much better than any number of committee meetings of people who are kind of half asleep in driving clubs on. There was one person I used to know called Tommy, and he was in Roundtable and he was in Rotary. And I always thought, you know, this club's, in both instances, this club's going to fall apart if this guy, Tommy, ever left. And it was just amazing. Our club has been kind of unfortunate. One of our big ideas guys, Sandy Wilson, he died. And he was still coming up with ideas even when he was 80. And the other really great ideas guy, he just has lost his hearing, and Zoom is hopeless for him. So that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to go back onto Eleanor's comment on Facebook. I must share that with you because I think people must think my Facebook was not cloned, copied, and people thought I was sending out messages and demanding money or opportunities for making a fortune, which I think I've managed to get closed down. So Facebook worries me as well in some ways. Some of the things we've been talking about there is quite interesting, and I think it was Kath said about the wider Rotary objectives or strategy, and there's 4, was about increasing our impact, expanding our reach, increasing our ability to adapt, and my goodness have we been doing that this year. But the one I wanted to just take the next maybe 20 minutes on was, and we've been talking about it, is enhanced participant engagement. And I mean, Eleanor, you were talking about it there a little bit on getting people into it. And John, you were talking about it, about people with the ideas and maybe clubs ignoring them. The other one going through my mind was, how many clubs out there have the same secretary over the last 5 years? Or the same treasurer? And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about stretching other people and building them? So come on, let's have a discussion. Who's going to get this discussion about enhanced participant engagement? So onto the participants. Click on put up my hand, and let's hear. So John, you can start it off. On you go.
Right. Thanks, Ken. I'm getting boring here. Right. I'm treasurer of our club, and I've been that for, I think, this is 3 years now. It's just worrying me that I have my own little system that I've worked out, and previous treasurers have all done the same. I knew not very much about being treasurer when I started, and it has been a really fantastic growth area for me. And I think it's really important that club members realise that they take on a job, something like treasurer or secretary, big job. They don't maybe know much about it, but it actually doesn't matter that they don't know much about it, because for a start, district will give them training and help, which is fantastic. And these people will grow in their lives by taking on these jobs, even though they're terrifying in a way. I think that's a huge plus for Rotary, but people shy away from doing these jobs. They think they're too stupid to do them, or they'll never get the hang of it. It's just not so. And it's important to get things right, but it's more important that people get a shot at doing things and growing themselves. Thanks.
Absolutely, because that's what we're about as an organisation, is about growing and developing people. And as you say, there's so much on my Rotary to help people. And of course, in the club, we'll all mentor them, won't we? Eleanor.
Thanks, Ken. We've got an assistant treasurer in position now to take over next November. It will be actually, and we've also got an executive secretary who will be trained up to become secretary when our present secretary has done her stint, so to speak. So that's what we have done, and I was very keen that we, and Hilary and I and a few of us were very keen that this happens, because from my working in my previous life, the administration was so huge that we'd had to have 2 people doing the secretary's job, and we actually had 3 folk doing treasurer's kind of job. So I think it's very important that you do that. And John's absolutely right. People will feel supported and encouraged by those who know, in the club that know all about it. And it's back to the same thing again. If your members have faith or trust in those who are leading, they'll feel more comfortable about saying, okay, I'll have a go, and know that they're not being judged in any way at all. So it's back to really getting to know one another and feeling comfortable in each other's presence, because we've got folk who knew nothing about Rotary at all, and we could envisage that being a problem. But I think everybody's now feeling very comfortable with one another, and we're all delighted with that. So that's my wee bit. I'll maybe not say anymore. I'll not put my hand up again.
You're absolutely right, Eleanor, because I was speaking to somebody recently, and they were in the police, senior role in the police, and their club had never asked them what they were interested in doing. The club hadn't found out what her skills were, and she wanted to project manage. But you're the police, you don't project manage. She actually ran the G8 Summit from a police perspective. Very capable. And people, if they take on the treasurer role or the secretary role or any other role, they'll probably do it differently, but it's not wrong, it's just different. Come on then, Alistair. I know it's not Fiona.
It's me. Well, I just wanted to say that times have changed a lot in the time I've been in Rotary, certainly. District now sends so much out, there's so much information available, and so on. But in the old days, and those old days aren't that far along, the secretary could be there for 5, 10, 15 years. I remember one secretary was there about 20 years. And they filtered everything, they blocked the information. The club really only ran on the information that they have. And I don't think that's healthy. And I'm delighted that it's changing. I think the idea of always having an understudy is a good one. And I like what district does. 3 years in your route. And that is probably something that clubs need to look at. I did notice in one of the wee squares on my screen that our club secretary is there. I should point out that Sarah joined us 6 weeks ago and within 2 weeks had become our secretary because ours moved away to Edinburgh. So maybe she could tell you what it's like to be thrown in at the deep end and whether or not people support her and whether or not information is available.
Come on then, you've got the floor then, Sarah.
Well, thank you, Alistair, for that. That's very kind. I was sitting here trying to be quiet and not get involved, but I was asked by Alistair to join Rotary and at the same time to be secretary. So it was a bit of a double whammy for me. I wasn't familiar with Rotary. It's been a steep learning curve, but my mentor, Alistair, has been very kind and supportive, and so's the rest of the council members as well. So I'm learning a lot from my Rotary, and yeah, that's me.
Good. And thank you for doing that. So well done. And whatever you do it your way.
I have been.
Do it your way. Malcolm.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I was muted. It's maybe a bit controversial, but I think that Zoom has facilitated enhanced participation. I know that, for example, this meeting tonight is a prime example of how Zoom is facilitating enhanced participation amongst the club members in District 1010. I know some people don't like it and some people aren't comfortable on it. And sometimes when you're looking at a screen, it's a flipping scary screen to look at when you see everybody scowling at you. But I know that I've been speaking to Rotary clubs, half a dozen Rotary clubs in England about the environment. I wouldn't have been doing that if I hadn't been using Zoom. And similarly, in my role in ESRAG, you know, I take part in global discussions now. I made a comment recently and somebody in South Africa, in Cape Town, nodded, and somebody in Melbourne said, yes, I agree with it. You know, and it really brings a feeling of togetherness, of cohesion, of purpose. So I think, you know, +1 for Zoom.
Well done. And just to pander to your topic on the environment, next year we're planning with the Keep Scotland Beautiful to speak to us at one of these nights, and we'll have it as a joint Scottish-Irish night, possibly. So maybe you can contribute in that one.
Thank you.
Kath.
Thanks, Ken. I wasn't going to answer the question on secretaries or treasurers, although for Alistair and East Sutherland's benefit, the Constitution actually says that club secretaries and treasurers should be in that post for no longer than 5, preferably 3 years. Anyway, that wasn't what I was going to talk about. It was to pick up something that Eleanor said earlier on, which is, you know, when we're looking for people for posts, I think we've got a habit of, both in club and probably at district level as well, of just sort of sending out a letter or putting something in a magazine or at club making an announcement that we need such and such a post. And we're always surprised because nobody actually comes forward. And that's because probably most of us are quite modest and don't recognise or want the skills that we have to be recognised. But particularly to pick up what Eleanor said, you know, filling posts is often one where if you approach an individual, that person will often, not always, but will often take the post on. And I think I admire Sarah in East Sutherland for what she's done. And in our club, we had a little of the same. One of our newer members, he's been with us less than 3 months. We lost the person who was looking after community work because she was busy at her own work. She works full time. He works full time as well, but we asked a new member if he'd like to take this on. And I actually emailed him during work time. I didn't want to disturb him on the phone. Emailed him, and back at once came an email saying, yes, I'd be delighted to do it. So we forget sometimes that that's us recognising someone that we think is competent. So whichever way we use a communication, telephone, our club likes to write in WhatsApp groups, but people respond if it's personal, I think, and I think that's the way we can get people. And I agree, whether it's secretary, treasurer, or any other job, it's good to refresh every so often, and to bear in mind, as a number of people have said, that each of us will do things differently. There's no wrong or no right way, that there's broad constitutional things we have to follow, but the actual practical things we just can get on and do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. So, Kath, after saying that, and I really agree with you that we just need to speak to people. So do we just phone all these people on the call tonight for the membership lead for the district?
I probably would do that, Ken, yes. The only thing is, Ken, we're at 39 participants just now. If we say something like that, there'll be down to 3 of us in a moment. But you know, if there's anybody on the call who would like to be the membership chair in the district, then that would be terrific. Because as a number of people, particularly I think Brian mentioned, membership is a concern for us all. I think, and I echo what John and Pitlochry is saying. I've been saying this for a while now, I think John has too. Our crunch will come on the 30th of June next year. And I think the issue is this, that for some of us, Rotary is a habit. It's not a bad habit, it's a good habit. But the habit is around meeting friends for lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever we do. And what we've discovered in the last 9 months is that we've got out of that habit. And we've maybe, if we're not people who participate a lot in service projects and just go to meetings and meals, we've got out of the habit, and we will go at the end of the year, I think. So that concerns me a great deal. And I personally, I've said it before, I think I respect everybody in the way that they want to act in their club and the sort of club that wants to be. But my firm belief is that the way forward is, alongside traditional clubs, is to have new clubs where, yes, people do things differently. And sometimes even people like me draw back in horror at I think it was, I can't remember who it was that said now that young people just get on and do it.
Yeah.
And I think might be nice if we planned it a wee bit. But I see sometimes the results, and they're absolutely terrific. Before most of you came on, I mentioned that a couple of people in my club have been making wreaths, which are full of celebration sweets. And they have been selling them on Facebook. That's where we've advertised them. And the sweet and the wreath thing costs about £4.50, and they're flying off the shelves at £12. And a huge amount of money is being made that way to support our clothing bank. And that's the power of Facebook, Ken, whether we like it or not. It's powerful.
Yep.
You know, and last week, one of our members was signing and singing Christmas songs, and at some point she had over 4,000 people engaged. So some of us are scared of it, and I agree, but it's powerful stuff. But you know, as I say, I think the way forward is new clubs operating alongside the traditional ones.
And Mike's just put in the chat box that a traditional club is capable of modernising. Absolutely right. Yeah. And that's part of why I've asked this question about enhancing participant and participation and engagement. And I'm thinking about the July, the first concern on numbers, and the district itself is concerned to the point that we're setting up a task force just to look at membership and what we should do about it going forward. And they're going to report back within a month or so. Donald.
Well, going back to your original about planning, it's absolutely essential. If we don't plan for the next 6 months, there won't be a 31st of July next year, because, you know, the clubs just now are struggling, and Zoom is a great medium. But what you were mentioning, has anybody spoken to somebody about joining the club? Last week I spoke to somebody walking along the street, and they said, oh, we have Zoom meetings. And it was kind of, oh, you know, the last thing a newcomer wants to do is stuck in front of us 40 people or whatever he doesn't know or she doesn't know. You know, some people will be happy with that. So it's a matter of being selective. And what we're doing just now in the club, because we can't meet face to face, is we're having buddy nights and buddy weeks. So every every couple of weeks or every week, we're meeting somebody for a coffee or a chat, lunch or whatever. And that enables us to have a more personal conversation, to find out about their interests, so that perhaps they can get drawn in at their pace rather than being thrown into the lion's den, as it were. So that's an advantage. But we always, in our club, and I suppose it's any different from anybody else, we always have different people moving at different paces. And this pandemic has also scared a lot of people for good reasons. And that certain people will sit back and do nothing. They're saying, right, well, we'll wait until it's all over and then we'll move forward. And other people are saying, right, let's get on with it. You know, so I think we just have to respect individuals, but have a plan in place. Don't run away from it. Get the plan in place. You don't have to be contacting people physically, but if we don't have a plan in place for the next 6 months, then 6 months down the line, as you're saying, we're going to have a big headache.
Yeah,
and we need to do something about it now.
Mm-hmm.
You sound like a very potential membership lead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling 6 months as a president. I've got a meeting at 8 o'clock. I'll probably be in a guillotine.
You know, and we're talking about enhancing participant engagement. I'm also thinking about the new members that come into Rotary, and well done, East Sutherland, for there's a great one with Sarah and bringing on the secretary there. But if we don't engage them, they're going to leave. And half of the new Rotarians leave within 2 years because we're not engaging them. So, Alistair, come on then.
Me again. Well, there's two things I wanted to say. One is our club's going through a huge amount of change. And can I just say that I wish that all the traditional clubs would stop looking at their belly buttons and actually get round to deciding what changes they want to make and then actioning them. Because if you don't action them between now and the end of June, there's going to be, in fact, long before the end of June, there won't be clubs at the end of June. We've managed to do most of that work already. Huge change, moving away from meals and so on. I'm not going to bore you with the details. If you want, I'll speak to your club on Zoom. But the other thing about Zoom is Zoom can be fun as well as effective. I mean, tomorrow night, our club's having its Christmas dinner party on Zoom. We're carol singing, we're joke telling, we've got Santa hats. We're doing all those things just to try and keep the virtual fellowship going as well. Yeah, okay. There we go. Get your hats out. And, you know, let's use Zoom. I mean, this is fantastic on a Monday night. The Kelso Convention, conversations, all the various other opportunities to learn from people who are actually either running Rotary or making things happen in Rotary. And it's not all negative stuff. Listen to them and then get into your clubs and make some changes and make your club relevant for next year and all the years ahead. Yeah, that's me finished pontificating. And that's Santa's message.
There's a comment in there that we need to bring people with us, because there's some Rotarians who've given years and years and years of service and we can't ignore them. And they're not going to be comfortable with change. So we've got to convince them and persuade them and demonstrate that this is not a disaster doing this. So Roy,
There was two things. When the lockdown started in March, there was lots of emails going back into about what we could do. Well, of course, anybody who was 70 or over should have been isolating, self-isolating. So I went through the list. I thought out of 36 members, we've probably got about 10 who are under 70. So I was thinking then, we're now at 2020, in 12 years' time, Cooper Rotary Club celebrates its centenary. So I was thinking, how many existing members, myself included, are still going to be here for that centenary? So that's one thing to look at, about having to change and attract new members. The other thing was, I was secretary for, I can't remember, 4 years. Most of the time it was fine, but I went on holiday once and I came back and there was chaos to do with one thing, because somebody said, oh, the secretary will sort that out. But they hadn't passed the information over, and it was a big dinner and nobody knew, we didn't know on the night how many people were going to turn up. So the secretary has got to have a deputy that can go to. And the other thing, the secretary can sometimes get given too much. Oh, the secretary will do that. The secretary should be able to turn around and say, no, I've got too much on at the moment.
Yep.
I think at the time I was still working. Somebody else, I need help from somebody else. So don't take everything on if you're the secretary.
And there's always a danger, and I've heard it quite often, that some of the newer members leave because they're under too much pressure to take on much more than they want to at the time. So thing to be careful about. Hilary, I'm conscious of your time.
Thanks, Ken. Great to see so many of you here tonight for this interesting discussion. So you've already heard that we use Facebook, and the people have been attracted to see what we do. So we speak about what we do because we are doing things. And I would say at Ayton Valley Rotary as well, we tend not to focus so much on our meetings. And here tonight, I'm hearing quite a few people speaking about what we're going to do for our meetings. Well, actually, certainly for myself, our meetings aren't that important. It's actually what we do, and telling people what we do and encouraging people to join us in doing that.
I remember a past district governor whose theme was, it's what we do that matters.
Have you read this month's Vision magazine? That's in there.
I've seen that. I'm going to take two more. John Milne.
Thank you, Ken. I'm struck by a couple of themes that have come across this evening, Ken, and I've missed a few Monday nights. One of the advantages of the forum meetings has been to emphasise how much we share as Rotarians and how much we could achieve as Rotarians collectively. And sometimes we dilute that because we're too much involved in our individual clubs and we don't collaborate enough. So out of what we've talked about tonight, one of my thoughts is when clubs are putting together their plans, say from January onwards, would it not be useful to use Zoom for some clubs to link together and see what they could do collectively in their local communities and not just have a series of clubs duplicating? And that's as concise as I'll ever be, Mr. McLennan.
Oh, my Sunday name. But Malcolm Rooney.
Yeah, our club had its June 2021 event in April, May of 2020, and we're now down to a core of positive, smiling, mainly faces. But I think we really have to be honest. More than half of our new members who left our club have done so because of the established IBEAN members. And that's the reality. Yeah. And I think we have to recognise that, we have to admit it, and we have to own it.
And you're not unique, trust me. I can't believe how fast this time's gone. I've got another my 5th Zoom meeting at 7:30. It's been absolutely terrific doing this year. We've now started setting the things up for next year. And every last Wednesday, we're going to do it on a Wednesday rather than a Monday, because there's some clubs who hold their own club meetings on a Monday that we're kind of neglecting. Kath, you wanted to say something just before we close.
Yes, Ken, I'm conscious that you've got yet another Zoom meeting. I don't know if you're going as Father Christmas or you're going in your civilian gear. But what I wanted to say was to thank you, Ken, for what you've done on these Zoom meetings over the past, 8-9 months. It's been absolutely fabulous. I know there's a number of us who are regulars. There's new people coming on, like Sarah's come on. I haven't seen maybe Brian and Bain on before. I can't remember, but we're still attracting people. But it's down to you, Ken, because you organise it, you get everything together, and you send out a note actually inviting us. So just on behalf of everybody who's here and on behalf of people who've come and gone and previous meetings, thank you very much for all you've done for us. And we hope that you have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll look forward to the new meetings in the new year. So thanks very much, Ken. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kath. That's really appreciated. That is our last meeting for this year. We're back on the 11th of January. Whatever links you've had for this year, forget, because there'll be new links coming out next year. I wish you all that you would wish for yourselves for the festive season, and look after yourselves, and we'll see you all in the new year. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Thank
Ken,
you.
thanks, Ken. All the best all for Christmas. Keep safe.
Happy New Year.
All the
Thanks,
best for
Ken.
2021.